We're four friends with hot takes on food media.
And we're here to review and recap all kinds of food shows in bite-sized seasons.
Plus, virtual potlucks, cooking adventures, and food memes.
Welcome to Pod Appétit Gourmet Takes.
Hi, it's Justine.
And it's me, Meg.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
We're back and we're still watching GBBO.
Still in that baking tent.
Still in the tent. Never leave. Well, we are back with more of GBBO 2022, the reality competition cooking show that crowns Britain's best amateur baker. But on the menu for today's episode, we'll be digesting our time with GBBO. A bit of a recap for the whole season. We're talking about what we liked, what we didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so stay tuned. But before we get into that, Meg, what you been cooking? I know we haven't seen each other in a long time.
I know. You have seen a photo of what I've been cooking, though. I made, forgive my pronunciation because I don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced, biskvitiniai grubakai, which is Lithuanian for mushroom-shaped cookies.
Oh my god.
Yes.
What?
They're so cute. Okay, so rewinding a little bit, taking a few steps back. A few seasons ago, we did Taste the Nation as one of the shows we were covering.
Loved it.
Yes, great show. And for the potluck for that season, what we decided to do was, in the vein of Taste the Nation, we were going to make family recipes.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a Lithuanian sweetbread from my mother's side of the family, because her family is pretty much entirely Lithuanian. But in doing research for that episode, I was looking at other Lithuanian recipes. And apparently another very popular one are these mushroom-shaped biscuits/cookies. They don't have actual mushroom in them. They are merely mushroom-shaped, but they looked really cute. And I asked my mom, have you ever made these? And she said no. And I said, well, would you like to? And she said yes.
Yes, Mary.
Yeah. So I got this specialty mold. It's kind of like a waffle iron. You know, it's two bits of metal with mushroom-shaped indentations. And then you pour the batter in there. It's somewhere between like a waffle batter consistency and like a soft cookie dough consistency. So you pipe it into the iron and then you cook it over a gas burner. And it cooks really quickly. It is kind of waffly, kind of cakey in texture. And there's just a little bit of spice to it. You just add a little bit of ginger, a little bit of clove, a little bit of nutmeg. Not enough to change the color of the cookie. It's still a very pale cookie, but just a little like touch of spice. And then you dip the mushroom cap in chocolate so that it looks like a mushroom.
Oh.
It's really, really cute. And they tasted
So
great.
cute.
And they turned out way better than I thought they would. I mean, my mom is an excellent baker. I'm pretty good. But I was a little concerned because the original recipe was in Lithuanian and just Google translated. So I'm like, I hope this automatic translation is good.
That always works out well.
But it actually did, surprisingly well, in fact.
Amazing. And they're freaking adorable.
They're really cute. It was really fun to make. My mom shared them online and she got more interaction than I ever have from any baking thing I've ever shared. And I was like, how does she do it? But it was really fun. I think it might be a new family tradition.
Yes, 100%. I love it. I'm joining your family.
Well, it made so many cookies. I mean, if I knew that they would ship well, I would certainly send you some. What have you been up to over the holidays?
Holidays were a bit chill, but I did get to make a bunch of stuff in my whole food cooking every day cookbook, which is, one of my favorites because it's vegan, gluten-free, refined sugar-free, like all the things that I need in my life right now. I made another bread, but this one was a carrot turmeric seed and rice bread. And it came out really well. I killed it. It wasn't dense. It was just nice and light. And I just snacked on it all the time. That's the thing with me. I always need a good snack. I need to eat like every 2 hours, And with that out of the book, I also made one of the pâtés, which was pretty much a garbanzo bean and cashew. It's kind of like a hummus, but it's not made with any of like the traditional hummus things, so that's why she calls it like a pate, you know. But very similar in the same vein. And that I also made, you know, like a turmeric spiced version of that as well.
Did you put that on the bread?
Yes.
Excellent.
I did that. And then I put some like pickled carrots on top of that too.
That sounds great.
Yeah. I was eating fancy. And one other thing I made from that book was seeded crackers, and I made raisin rosemary pecan seeded crackers. It's not like really traditionally what you would think of when you think cracker, but it is a bunch of, you know, dough made with seeds and oats and a little bit of like oat flour and things like that, and then rolled flat as you can, and then it has all the raisins in there as well, and then baked and then like shattered or broken apart.
Yeah.
That I also put the pate on that as well. Like basically I made some bases and a spreadable and some toppings, and like I was good to eat, you know, forever.
I love seeded stuff. It's one of those adjectives that I see on a menu or in a cookbook and I'm like, ooh, seeded. Yum, yum, yum.
What kind of seeds? All of them.
Eat like a bird.
Yes, so pretty healthy stuff for me, but don't worry, I was also, you know, ordering my pad thai and Indian food as well. So when I wanted to, you know, just make some healthy snacks, that's where it was at. That's all I need. It was good. I've had a good time in the kitchen.
Excellent.
All right. Are you now ready to digest the Great British Bake Off?
I'm ready.
So I think first, let's talk about our thoughts, but like positive thoughts.
We're gonna start out the new year in a positive light.
What you got, Meg?
I feel like this was a very good season overall. As we mentioned, a really good batch of bakers, which I think is critical to a good season. So you're rooting for pretty much everyone. It's comes down to the best of the best once you get to the finale. Really great personalities. So I think that was the strongest part of this season, was simply they started out with a good baseline, and it really carried through the whole show.
I agree. Such a great group of bakers. I was so invested, like all the way through. I loved these people. I think this is the best casting in like a long time.
I agree. I feel like, gosh, I can't remember off the top of my head what season it was, but the one with Kim Joy and Rahul, I think that's probably always going to be the top season for me because of the cast of bakers. But I honestly think that this one came pretty close.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think you really do need to like cast it kind of like a reality TV show with people who are good on camera, you know?
Yes. And everyone is pretty nice and genial and kind. You know, unlike reality shows, they don't cast a villain. So you never really get that. But, you know, I do feel
there's
like
a villain.
There will forever be Baked Alaska Gate, I suppose. But I feel like Shabira was really kind, really funny, really humble, and that just worked out great seeing how the season went. It's like you loved her as a person, you loved her as a baker, and she won. So everyone's happy.
I love Noel. I never want him to leave ever.
Yes. So the hosts, I also love Noel. We are saying goodbye and good riddance to Matt Lucas after this season. And we talked a little bit amongst ourselves, like, I would love to see Sandy come back. I don't think that'll ever happen. And then I was thinking about it some more, and ultimately, I do want another female host. I do want Noel to stay. But in an alternate reality, I would love for James A. Casper and Ed Gamble to be the new hosts. Because they host a podcast called Off Menu. They're both British comedians. They're hilarious. James A. Casper, well, actually, they were both on celebrity episodes of Bake Off, but neither of which are easily watchable here in the US. But James A. Casper kind of became a meme for his appearance. He's the one who started making it, had a breakdown. Bon appetit.
Yes. Classic.
I think it would be a good redemption for him to become host of GBBO.
100%. Another thing that I loved about this season was that they started the bakes out really like simply in the first few episodes.
Yes.
Unlike previous seasons where they had them construct like a 12-story house at the beginning of, the first episode.
The cake busts. The cake busts were episode 1 of that season.
I cannot.
Talk about a tall order. Yes, there was a good arc to this season, both in terms of the bakers' individual growth and just amping up the challenges in a reasonable way.
Yes. Those are my positives.
I know. I realized I slipped into criticizing Matt Lucas. I apologize.
Did a little. We brought it back in.
I know. I'm sorry. I forgot we were keeping it positive.
Well, then on that note, do you have any criticisms, Meg? I have a couple.
I feel like they're mostly the same criticisms that there always are of Bake Off, which is, like you said, when there's absolutely ridiculous challenges where the bakers are set up to fail, I guess I would say. The examples of that, I would say, are the tres leches cake, just the parameters they set out. It wasn't even a tres leches cake they were looking for. Also, the vertical tarts, which were just ridiculous. And then in the final episode, the pudding bomb with the vegetarian gelatin. It's like, these are examples of challenges where they've been made unnecessarily difficult. I feel like you can make a difficult challenge without throwing in twists, if that makes sense. So that was definitely one of my criticisms. What was one of yours?
Well, going off of that, I feel like Bake Off really needs to, as a show, evaluate what it is. Because it's like, are you for amateur bakers? Are you trying to make them do professional bakes? Because the judging is professional standard.
That's true. I guess it's always been that way, though.
It just feels, I don't know what it is, but it just feels with these latest seasons that they're trying to make them struggle. I don't know.
I think that is an interesting challenge that Bake Off has. So this is its 13th season. That's a lot of seasons. So you have to do this balancing act of delivering on the formula that everyone watches for and keeps coming back for, but also trying to make it new and interesting. And I think that the way that they can and should continue to make it fresh is by introducing, I'm going to say it even though it hasn't been successfully done so far, themed weeks. So we have Mexican week, we have Japanese week. I think in theory, those are good ideas. Like, let's have a theme that we haven't done before. Let's reach outside the borders of Britain and do some bakes that the audience might not be familiar with. I can't say that they've executed on those themed weeks so far.
Right. No, because you see a lot of that, I think, even as we've become more global. I mean, I feel like on TikTok or Instagram, like, milk bread, like, went viral, like, stuff like that. So there are international bakes that you can then, like, learn how to do because people around the world are seeing these things now and want to do them in their homes. So I think it could be along those lines. Yeah, with the theme weeks, they were never accurate,
Yes. That's another hard line to balance just in the food world in general. It's like, what even is authenticity? What does it mean to appropriate food versus exploring a new way to celebrate a food? It's a difficult question that I think really no one has the answer to yet. And for a light, fluffy entertainment show like GBBO, I don't know if they're equipped to really handle that, but also I think it could be done in a successful way. I think we could have had a Mexican week that actually worked. I don't know, maybe like a guest host, maybe a guest judge, because God knows Paul Hollywood is not as cosmopolitan as he thinks he is.
Yeah, but I just am speaking to, like, I know this wasn't this season, but like Japanese week, and I don't remember, something that they did was like Korean or Chinese.
I believe it was the bao buns.
Yeah, and it's just like, first step wrong. It's not even Japanese, you know? Like,
Right. Yeah.
but that's not this season. So I think we talked about this. We were kind of less enthusiastic about the sort of non-bake challenges this
Yes.
season.
This was another one of my criticisms. There were 3 different technical challenges that didn't involve any baking: tacos, ice cream, and spring rolls.
Though I do like the ice cream.
I did like the ice cream challenge. I felt it was good for custard week because at its core, ice cream is a custard. But again, I think this speaks to the fact that GBBO has been going on for a very long time, and they don't necessarily want to repeat recipes, although they have. They certainly have. Like the floating islands, in fact, in this season was a challenge that they had done many years ago. And I think it's okay to, I would rather see repeat recipes than something that isn't even baking.
I go to Bake Off to watch people make Swiss rolls.
Yes. I don't go to see them cook steak for a taco.
Yes. I don't care if you gotta make Swiss rolls every season. I'll be there.
And that's the thing. I think it's kind of fun to have repeat recipes, because then you can see what everyone brings to the table. I think it's a good way to illustrate each baker's individual take on a classic recipe.
Yes. You should have Paul just have a whole Black Forest Gâteau episode.
He would love that. A key lime pie episode. Oh my gosh, what if they did a theme week that was just Paul's favorites?
There. Done. We did it for you.
Excellent. There could be a week that's Prue's favorites. It's all booze.
Yep. Everybody's just drunk the whole time.
See, if they're going to make them not even make bakes, they should have them come up with a cocktail for Prue.
Half the people are doing it anyway.
That's true. Those little pipettes of rum in their cream puffs or whatever.
So overall with this season, I was more enthused about the people, less enthused about the bakes.
I would definitely agree with that. As much as I loved the whole cast, I don't know if I would buy a cookbook from any of them. There's certain former contestants where I'm like, I want to try to make that. But for some reason with these contestants, I'm like, I love what they do. I feel like it's so specific to them that I don't know how I would pull off one of their recipes.
Yeah. And something like you had noted about like when Peter's cookbook dropped, you're like, oh, how many Christmas recipes are there? Sometimes people, you know, have a thing and then they get known for that and then we like it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what's her name? Helena. You want a cookbook. You want that. Yes.
Yeah.
But I think, if there had been different casting, I think we would have suffered again like we did before.
Absolutely. I keep coming back to GBBO because it is that comfort watch, you know exactly what you're going to get. There's not going to be any surprises. You know that it's going to be a wholesome, friendly, fun, turn off your brain and watch it for a while. And as long as it keeps delivering on that, I'm happy. But it does, I don't want to say it gets boring at a point, but it's gone on for 13 years now. There's no surprises in a good way, but also there's no surprises in a bad way. So I don't go to the Great British Bake Off for something new and unique and novel. I go there as a comfort watch. And sometimes that's not always what you feel like. Sometimes you do want something that's new and novel. So yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just what you're in the mood for watching that day.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. And then when we come back, we'll be talking about our favorite and least favorite episodes and recipes. And we're back. So, Meg, favorite episodes, favorite bakes, what you got?
My favorite episode was absolutely Halloween week. I loved this episode. I loved this theme. I love Halloween, so it was kind of a no-brainer that this was a favorite for me. I liked that they dressed up in costume. I thought that was cute. I just liked the idea of spooky themed bakes. And I also think that a lot of the individual bakes were really fun. I loved Yanusha's horror popcorn bucket with the cricket truffles. I thought it looked great. He did a lot of different techniques in a very cool way. I liked the idea of using crickets and cricket flour as an ingredient. I also really liked Shabira's spider lantern. I thought that was really cool. There was like green lights. I think there was maybe a fog effect. It looked spooky. It looked fun. I loved the Halloween episode.
I think for me, the Halloween episode, I like the idea of it, but I just like the hanging piñata lantern part.
Right. You didn't like the signature apple challenge because you thought it was too generic to autumn and not specific to Halloween, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course there was the s'mores challenge for the technical, which we can't relitigate that. It'll drive me crazy. But despite the s'mores challenge, I overall enjoyed the episode.
All right. I actually really like the first episode,
Okay.
Cake.
Cake week.
I think that it was super smart. I loved a lot of the bakes, the mini sandwich cakes. There were so many cute things. The cactuses, the flowers, the red velvet cake. I thought that was a great first technical. I think just a great technical overall. And then the cake home showstopper, I also was a fan of that. So just like as an episode as a whole, Cake worked for me, and it worked for me as a first episode. So I really liked it. It's one of my faves.
I agree. It was a great first episode. Like you said, it was good that they started out with simple bakes. And I think that's especially important in the very first episode because you want to establish the bakers' baking personalities. And that show definitely did that. It was like you can see their individualism in every single bake they do in this episode. And when I was going through and reviewing like, oh, what were some of my favorite bakes of the season, I also flagged the cactus cakes by Abdul and the flower pots by Sandro.
Yes.
So yeah, right out of the gate, they're making these really cute, really amazing cakes.
Yeah, those ones are just unforgettable right off the top. Do you have another favorite episode?
I know this is going to sound controversial, but I kind of enjoyed the disaster watch of Mexican Week. Like, I will fully admit that it was a flawed episode in terms of conception, but it was kind of fun because of that. I don't know. I enjoyed Mexican Week. Maybe it's just because I love Mexican food. I feel strongly about Mexican food. So maybe it was just that I had these strong feelings that then just got misdirected through anger to enjoyment somehow.
Oh, the algorithm got you with that clickbait.
Yeah.
Oh, if you see this shock on my face right here. Wow, Meg.
I know.
Another favorite episode of mine was episode 9, Patisserie. That episode had the mini Charlottes, the vertical tarts, and the croquant.
Croquant, great showstopper. That was probably the best showstopper of the whole season.
Oh, yeah. I put all caps, especially Abdul and Shabira's croquant.
Absolutely. I love Shabira's double helix. I love Abdul's rocket ship. Very impressive. There were a few showstoppers where I felt like this is truly jaw-dropping, and I think that this episode accomplished that.
As much as you were into the chaos of Mexican Week, I was into the chaos of the vertical tarts.
See, it's entertaining. It's that same feeling Nailed It gets you, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
True. Do you have any other favorite episodes or one-off bakes?
There were just a couple of bakes I wanted to mention. I really loved Sandro's Earth with the planet core. I just thought that was so impressive. Of all the very ambitious designs he had, this was maybe the one that he absolutely pulled off and executed precisely how he imagined it. It looked really impressive. It sounded like it tasted impressive. In that same episode, Abdul made a mirror glaze galaxy. Yes. I thought that was very beautiful as well. Those were a couple of my other favorite bakes. James, who was kicked out pretty early in the season, I just really liked his raccoon macarons.
Oh yeah, I listed just the decorative macarons episode 2. Like they should do more of that. That's what I want to see. Everybody had so much fun, and of course, Shabira with her peanut tofu satay.
Yeah,
I'm down.
absolutely. Another bake of Shabira's I really liked was the pina colada custard gâteau. Beautifully decorated and
Yes.
simply decorated, but in a very gorgeous way.
Yeah, it was like understated. I don't know, in a beautiful way.
Yeah, it was, just really creative.
Yeah. And the one thing we mentioned that we talked about previously, the pistachio ice cream, the staggered start time technical. I was like, oh, yes. Into this.
Yeah, see, that's another area where you can do something slightly different. It, in fact, is in favor of the bakers, but it adds a little element of interest that isn't always there just because it's different.
And it really eliminated that whole thing, of course, where people always joke, and I think even we have said of like, oh, they're looking right at the bakers, and the bakers are like, ah!
Yeah, it's not quite the blind judging that they say it is.
I thought it was cool. Added a certain amount of tension that I like that you don't normally get to see in GBBO.
Absolutely. You know, speaking of tension and ice cream, this season didn't have a super hot temperature bake. It always seems like there's a certain weekend where they're filming and it's the hottest it's ever been and they have to make ice cream. So there wasn't that element this year. I guess the weather was just in their favor this time.
They were favored by the weather gods. Yeah. Are you ready?
For what?
To dislike?
Yes.
Least favorite episodes and or bakes.
Oh boy. Okay. Least favorite episode was definitely Bread Week.
Yes! Sorry, I did that way too loud.
Justine's redlining with her hate of Bread Week. So...
Dude!
So much to dislike about this episode. So the signature challenge was pizza.
Pizza!
Pizza. I should put that in scare quotes. These are the most disappointing pizzas I've ever seen. Don't think anyone made a good pizza, really.
No,
the technical
horrible.
was arguably not even bread. It was a pastry. It was the raisin pain au raisin.
Yeah, like I don't even remember it. I looked through my notes and I was just like, what is this? I don't even remember this thing.
Yeah, because it wasn't bread.
Yeah. I was
And
like,
then-
you're not bread, get out of here.
And then the showstopper, the s'morgas torta, the
can't.
giant sandwich cake is pass.
I've got PTSD thinking about it. Okay, here's the thing. I know that this is a culture's food, but I'm saying that it really does not look appealing to me. I just really can't with the savory things that look sweet and it hurts my brain. That's all I'm saying. I'm like, it hurts my brain to look at.
It's like an illusion food that is being an illusion just to be cruel. Like, you think you're getting a cake, but really, you're getting a finger sandwich.
Right. We cannot taste these things as viewers. All we have is the visual, and the visual was not meshing with me.
I agree. I would agree with that. That's the thing. If I was able to taste this, I'm sure I would have loved all of them. But yeah, we eat with our eyes first. The bakers weren't terribly familiar with this type of bake, so maybe they didn't execute it the best that they could be executed. You know, I didn't look up s'morgas tortas after this. Maybe there are gorgeous ones that I would think are the most appetizing things in the world, but what they presented on this show was not that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm so sorry to everybody who likes that. I'm sure it's great. I'm sure there are people who like it.
We're not yucking anyone's yum, as they
No.
say.
That's what they say.
Just not for us.
Not for us.
You know, I hate to say it, but I think this finale was boring.
That's what I have on my list too. Episode 10 finale.
Anticlimactic, boring.
So bad.
I did not think the showstoppers were that show-stopping.
Mm-mm.
I'm happy with the results. I'm glad Shabira won. I loved the top 3 finalists. I just did not like the finale.
Like, literally, on my rewatch of it, I think I was on my phone the whole time. Like, I mean, I know at that point I already knew who won,
Yeah.
but there was also just nothing good about the episode. I don't know.
I agree.
It was boring. The whole theme was weird. We talked a lot about this in our last episode.
Yeah, if you want to hear us really go into the theme and what we thought of it, check out our previous episode.
Yeah. And then, so we already mentioned s'mores, and Meg doesn't want to get into it again.
I mean, if you want to, I would be happy to freak out about s'mores again. Just don't know if my brain can handle it today.
They're not s'mores.
No.
Is just the point of any argument we would make.
They're not s'mores?
S'mores.
Maybe
Are
they were
those?
s'mores. Okay, they weren't s'mores, they were s'mores.
Yeah.
And also, one of our problems is that we felt it didn't really fit with the Halloween theme.
Yes.
We say that Americans more strongly associate s'mores with summertime, not with Halloween.
Yes. What about that, Paul?
Oh man, those s'mores. Ugh.
The worst thing of the season? I don't know, smorgasborda or s'more?
That's tough to call. I would throw pizza in there too as one of the worst things of the season.
Oh, God.
Yeah, those are my top 3 worst bakes for sure.
Oh, that's a tier list that no one wants.
Everyone loses.
Everyone. Which, pizza can be good. We know that. I don't know what that was. Any other least favorite? I think that's it.
Yeah, I think I got all my complaining out of my system.
Yeah, just going over that segment just raised my blood pressure a bunch.
It's true. I had to take a
Like-
calming sip of my tea here.
Yeah, honestly. Whew. All right. We have done a season of GBBO before, where we talked about the host. That is usually what we do right now in our digest episode. But I will say, my patience with Paul is wearing thin as the years go on.
That's the thing. I don't know if I will ever get to the point where I'm tired of GBBO. I think that I will continue to watch it every year. It's something that I always enjoy. The things that annoy me about Paul annoy me more than they used to. However, I am able to recognize that he's playing up a character for TV. I bet if I were to meet the real Paul Hollywood, it would be like this, but dialed down by a lot. I think, his role on the show is to be the harsh one. He's the critic. He's got the piercing blue eyes that intimidate all the bakers. He has this role to play. And like I was saying, people watch because they expect certain things from the show. We expect Paul to be this way. I guess what I am most annoyed about is when everyone reveres him as this bread god, or he knows so much about so many different cultures, foods, and it's that irks me. I'm like, that's not true. He's an entertaining judge. He's an entertaining personality. I don't personally agree that he is the expert on all things baking.
Well said. Well said. I just also don't really like the dynamic since they swapped Mary Berry with Prue, because it's always like Paul's the de facto judge and then Prue's there also saying a thing, but it doesn't really mean anything.
I agree with that too. That's always been a disappointment for me because I really like Prue a lot. I like her personality. I like her quirky fashion sense.
Yes.
I do think that, similar to Paul, that her palette is more limited than perhaps she thinks it is.
Yeah.
But all that being said, I like her a lot. And yeah, I do think it is sad when the bakers talk to the camera and they're like, oh, I can't wait for that handshake. Oh, I really need to impress Paul. And it's like, why do you have to impress Paul? Prue's there too, and she's just as knowledgeable as Paul is. And I always appreciate when a baker is like, I'm here to impress Prue. Someone said that last year. I can't remember who, but I was like, yeah, Prue's there too.
Yeah, Prue's there too.
Be nice to Prue.
Yeah. And I think everybody already knows how we feel about the comedic hosts.
Matt.
Matt's gone. You don't have to see him again.
I'm so happy. I tried to like Matt. I really did. But he was just so grating to me this season. And I don't get most of his references in the first place. And I find that referential humor is kind of not the best crutch for someone who's supposed to be a comedian. It's like, well, if no one gets your reference, then it's just not funny. And I feel like his references are probably also very outdated. I'm not sure because I don't get most of them, but I feel like his comedy is outdated. He does these voices that I don't find particularly funny. In the finale, when Noel was absent for a little while because he was under the weather, he was very sorely missed.
I can't do the voices. The voices, I don't get it. I'm like, is this humor?
What is funny?
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, like we talked about in our likes section, we love Noel. We can't wait to see who they pair him up with.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think that, well, I feel like I'm going to jinx it now. I was going to say probably no matter who they choose will be better than Matt, but that might be going too far.
You done did it now, Meg.
No.
And the other sort of favorite thing I know you and I both like about Noel is that usually he has like one of the bakers he chooses as like a bestie.
Yes.
Not consciously, who knows, but it comes through.
I agree. He was obviously BFFs with Helena because they were both goths, dead vampire people. Bryony, Shabira. Yes, I always love whoever gets the Noel bump.
It's real. All right, Meg, will you continue to recommend this show?
It's funny because by this point, if someone hasn't watched GBBO, it's probably not for them.
Yeah, they aren't going to.
They're not going to at this point. And if someone has, they don't really need me to recommend it to them. But let's just say, hypothetically, I were to meet a person who loves baking who somehow has never watched The Great British Bake Off, I would say absolutely watch it. It's a great comfort watch. It's just popcorn entertainment, which is something you need sometimes. And I continue to love it.
Yeah, I'm definitely aligned with you. It's a very popular show. I mean, it's all over the social medias whenever anything happens. So who's there left to recommend it to?
Right?
But yeah, I'm gonna keep watching it.
Me too.
Yeah. I think we always get excited when like they announce the next batch of bakers and we're like, oh yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, and I just realized that there's new holiday specials on Netflix that I haven't watched yet for this year.
Which ones? Did I watch them?
I don't know. But I'm like, there's 2 new episodes for me to watch. Their Christmas special and their New Year's special. So I am psyched to watch those.
Hell yeah. Merry Christmas, even though it's after Christmas.
It's a late Christmas present to myself.
Love it. All right. So this wraps up our digest, but of course, we'll be back next time on the podcast with our potluck. But first, we gotta see what's on our back burner for today. So Meg and we watched a show. We really liked it.
You've probably never heard of it.
Where have you been? Oh my god. We watched this little show called The Big Brunch, and it features some people you may know of. Dan Levy, Sola Awele, and another guy.
And the other guy. I had a mental note to look up the other guy's name before we recorded, and then I forgot to. But you don't need to know. You should just watch the show, and then you will know who he is. But yeah, this is the brainchild of Dan Levy. It is a HBO Max cooking competition show. And as you could guess from the title, they make brunch. It's a whole bunch of brunch. And
who knew there was so much brunch?
I know. I mean, I do feel like sometimes the concept was stretched a little, even in just the first season, but that's okay. I think that they adhered closely enough to it. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I kind of marathoned it, I think over about a week. Really enjoyed it. I love seeing Sola in these new endeavors. And I really liked her niche in this show. So in the way that I was mentioning that like Paul plays a character, I feel like Sola also plays a character in a certain sense. I feel like she made this conscious decision that's like, I'm going to be the too cool for school one, you know. And she's
Tough love.
Yes, tough love. She's also there for her cooking expertise. Like Dan is there to be like the cheerleader. He's the food lover, you know.
Dan's there to eat.
Yeah, Dan is there to eat. Dan is there to enjoy. Sola is there to drink and to be critical. And I think she did wonderfully. I really liked seeing her.
You just reminded me of the whole like cocktail segments and whatever. There were so many things about this show that I really loved. That's one of them.
Yes.
Where they would order drinks. You get to experience the personalities of these hosts. You get to like learn things about cocktails because of course, duh, it's brunch. People are having cocktails.
You have to have a brunch cocktail. I feel like that is a huge component of brunch.
Yes. And the show was just so like easy breezy. It was still like a competition, but it felt moldable, malleable, and there were even spoilers some point where they made them do something over again.
Yes.
For good reason.
For good reason.
Yeah, and I thought it was really interesting. It had some really interesting editing. The sound design was a little quirky. Not something, it felt like someone who doesn't normally like edit a competition show did this show, which gave it a little like fresh perspective. You know?
I did feel like it was different from other cooking competition shows. I've watched a lot, and this one does bring something new to the table. Also, just I think that the visual design of it is very interesting. Beautiful kitchen, beautiful judging area. I think it's fun that they've sort of made this faux restaurant. There's like the fake front of house, fake back of house, and then the whole beautifully appointed bar. So it's just interesting to look at as well.
Speaking of interesting to look at, Sola's hair, makeup, and wardrobing through this season.
Yeah, whoever they have doing the styling is doing a great job.
You've never seen Sola like this, glammed up, themed up. Like, I loved it. I'm sure she was loving it. I mean, like, it was like she was a movie star. I loved it.
Yeah, she, like you said, looks very glamorous, but also very Sola. Like, you can see the type of clothes she chooses for herself based on, like, her YouTube appearances and things like that. So I feel like they still clothed her in her aesthetic, but maybe just, like, amped up the glamour a little bit.
I'm excited to see if they do a season 2. The show, I think, is just really based around, like, just Dan's big heart, you know? He wants to know the contestants as who they are as people, what their stories are, and that goes, like, into the judging element as well.
This is an interesting part of the competition show, is that it isn't just about the food. Baked into the show is the idea of these people have to pitch to the judges why they should win the money in order to invest in a business or in some sort of endeavor. So yes, part of the judging is the person themselves.
Yeah. This whole show is like a business plan.
Yes. Yeah, interesting concept, fun contestants. I thought the caliber of food was very high. It looked delicious. Beautiful plating, beautiful aesthetics and theming and design of the show itself. I really liked all the hosts, even though I can't remember the third guy's name. I did think also it was a good dynamic between the three of them.
Yes.
And I would totally watch another season.
Yeah, this is something I don't think we could recommend more. If you have HBO Max, check it out. It's up there the whole first season. It's a gem.
Absolutely.
All right, now it's time for some shout outs, and we've got a couple. A fair few. Firstly, Ravenelle. She loves wood ear mushrooms. She wanted more wood ear mushrooms in Ravenelle spring rolls.
More mushrooms. I am wearing my mushroom hoodie right now. I made mushroom cookies. I'm a mushroom person, Justine.
She's a mushroom person. Next up, Microwave.
Microwave.
Always excited to say that. Microwave reminds Angela to be pecked of the song Rico Suave by Gerard.
To which I said that Rico Suave always reminds me of Weird Al's parody Taco Grande. So we're bringing it all the way back to food.
Wow. Thank you. That's the kind of comments we want to see on our socials.
Absolutely.
Several people thought Meg's pumpkin rolls. You remember those? Flashback, Meg.
PTSD flashback.
Yeah. Several people thought they were very cute, like Mary, Whip Whisk Repeat, Hey Jen Owens, and Summer's Rising.
I did it for the gram.
And that's what the people love, the gram. Absolute success. Rachel Casper wanted to know if we watched Snack vs. Chef on Netflix, which she called a Gourmet Makes ripoff.
I had not heard of this, but I'm very keen to check it out now because if it is just a Gourmet Makes ripoff, I'm definitely checking it out.
I've watched most of it, and it was before we got this comment because I saw it and I was like, okay, they are making snack foods. They are making Oreos, hot Cheetos, you know. They gotta recreate the thing. Where have we heard that before? I do not like this show. People may like it. It was not for me just because the vibes are off.
Totally. I mean, it's all down to the person. I mean, like we were saying about this season of GBBO, we loved it because of the bakers. People didn't like Gourmet Makes because some random person was making hot Cheetos. They liked Gourmet Mix because Claire Saffitz was making hot Cheetos. It's all about Claire's personality, and that was what made Gourmet Mix. So you can't have Gourmet Mix without Claire.
So like GBBO, there are 4 panelists on this show, which are 2 experts, 2 comedians. I don't know why, because it seems like that's too many because it's like a smaller environment. But also, it feels like they don't like each other.
Oh, no.
It feels like people are there for a paycheck. People are just, they had to show up to this thing. That's what it means, like, the vibes are off. I'm like, normally, I'm sure the comedians are funny. They're not here. It feels like things are tense. The 2 expert people, especially the guy, I don't like him. He seems like a jerk. I don't know. It's just like, I don't know who these people are, but it feels like they don't like each other.
Okay, I'm not going to check it out anymore.
Like I said, I don't think I'll be finishing it. But the production design and the prop work are fantastic. Like what you were saying about Big Brunch, it's like that times Pee-wee's Playhouse with this show.
Okay,
like,
cool.
It has some really cool set design, really interesting stuff. There's like a secret door behind a vending machine. Like they make all of their final products with their own like personalized packaging. Like there's a lot of details going into the production design and the prop work of this show. I just wish that the people were not jerks or whatever they are. I'm not saying they're jerks. They're not acting like jerks. They just act like they don't like each other.
It sounds like Meow Wolf.
What's that?
Oh, it's these interactive installations, I guess you would say. It's in a few cities across America, maybe in other countries too, but one of them is a fake supermarket. And so there's like hidden doors, there's packaging that's done just for the installation. It sounds really cool and trippy, and I want to go to one.
Yeah, yes, I can see the correlation there. Yeah. I don't know. You can check it out. Check out the first episode, see if you're vibing with it, but I didn't vibe. That's all we'll say about that. Lastly, we got a couple of responses to our Reddit talk with Molly Boz. Mary called it very informative. And mirrorimagepod said, love her. We love her too. And
we also love Molly Boz, yeah.
Super informative.
She mostly answered questions around Thanksgiving food, but I feel like a lot of her tips were very universal, very applicable to other meals that aren't Thanksgiving. So even though it's not Thanksgiving time right now, you should definitely listen to it.
Yeah, and just Molly was just a fun gal to chat with, you know?
She really was, yeah.
Bucket list complete for us. I mean,
I still want Sola.
We're gonna get her. We're gonna get Sola. Someday. That's our New Year's resolution.
Get Sola on a Reddit talk. We are going to manifest it now.
Woo woo! Yeah, and if there are folks that you want us to interview on a Reddit talk or just here on the pod, let us know.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks for all those lovely people, and especially Meg's mom twice, for getting in touch with us on social media.
Thank you, Mom.
I know you're listening right now. We appreciate you, Mary.
Thanks for making mushroom cookies with me.
Yeah, they're so adorable. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. We're still inching towards our goal of 1,000 subscribers, so help us get there, please. Thank you. We also have a merch and maybe some new merch coming
Yeah,
soon.
new design dropping soon. Keep your eyes peeled.
Podappetit.threadless.com. But of course, we still have our beautiful ice cream logos, shirts, bags, everything. Deck yourself out in Pod Appétit merch to show your love. So next time on the podcast, Meg and I saddling up to do a potluck, GBBO style.
Yes, what will we bake?
Ice cream. No.
Spring rolls.
Meg is 100% coming with spring rolls. Anyway. We will see you then. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Pod Appétit Gourmet Takes.
We'd love to hear from you, so find us on Twitter and Instagram at pod_appétit.
And on Facebook at Pod Appétit Podcast.
You can also email us at podappetitpodcast@gmail.com and find all of our episodes on our website, podappetitpodcast.com.